So last week I got some new fish for the 300 litre, and this might be a bit underwhelming considering they're only Ember Tetras. Very small type of tetra, bright orange. I've had them before as well. Really nice fish. So what I'm going to show you is me quarantining them. I'm going to quarantine them for about a month in a separate tank before I put them in the main tank. And as well as quarantining them, it'd be a good idea just to let them gain some size before I put them in, because I think at this size there's a possibility they could get eaten by the rainbows. I doubt they would, but they are really small. So I think in about a month's time they'll get a lot bigger. Well, not a lot bigger, but slightly bigger, where they can't be eaten. So I'll show you at the end of the video how they colour up and they get a bit more active. As you'll see in this one, when I put them in, they'll just stay at the back and they're pretty colourless. So I'm just going to add this 100 watt Eheim heater. This should be fine for this tank. It's a 140 litre tank. It's my old 4-foot tank in the kitchen, but I'm not going to fill it all the way up with water. I just don't need to. So I've got a sponge filter here. Now this is a new filter, so it's not cycled, and I'll show you what I do in a bit, so that I have some cycled media. So I just use a hose connected to the tap with a pump on the end. The pump's not plugged in, and the water's just going from the tap straight into the tank. And then when I want to get water out, I plug it in and pump it back into the sink. So it's really good for doing water changes, really quick. I've done a video on it as well. So all the stuff in the bottom of the tank, that's just gravel. It's like the dust, gravel dust from when I took all the gravel out of the tank. I just couldn't be bothered to get the last bits out. So all you need for a quarantine tank is a tank, a heater and a cycled filter. Don't need any decorations, don't need any plants. It's easier if you just keep it bare bottom, just so you can take it down, put it up whenever you need to. So I'm just putting the heater at the bottom. By putting the heater at the bottom, I can do water changes without turning the heater off, because you can't let the heaters run dry. So when the water level drops, the heater's still submerged. So I'll put that at the bottom. Just using a simple air sponge filter. Now these are really good because all you need is a pump, a bit of airline hosing. You just connect the hosing to the filter and the pump, and you got yourself a cheap filter that you can easily remove or add to any tanks. Easy to clean as well. You just take it out, swill off the sponge and put it back. Very easy. So they're a really good choice for quarantine tanks. This is an old pump that I have. It's really noisy, so I don't usually use it, but it's only temporary, so it'll be alright. And this is so the water doesn't back siphon back into the pump. You should always use one of these. So that's the filter. Very simple setup. I'm only going to fill this tank about halfway. It holds about 140 litres, so it's going to be about 70-80 litres in here. And for 7 very small Ember Tetras, it's plenty of water. It's a bit warm as well, 26. So the heater's on 25. So the water temperature will eventually drop just down to 25, which should be fine. Going to float the bag to temperature, acclimate them. The Ember Tetras are very shy and fragile fish, especially at first, so you've got to take extra caution when adding them to the tank. float the bag for about half an hour and you should be alright. But I had a few not long ago, about a year ago. I had about 18 of these and eventually they all died. Some of them lived for about a year or whatever, but eventually they all died. Hopefully I'll get a bit more luck with these. So like I said, this filter isn't cycled, obviously, because I just got it out the packet and it's dry. Once a filter turns dry, it means all the bacteria's died on it, so you can never let a filter run dry. So I need to run some sort of cycled media. So there's the 7 very small Ember Tetras feeling sorry for themselves. So what I do is cut the top of the bag with some scissors and then pour the bag through the net into the sink, so I don't get any of the water from the aquarium shop into the tank, because you don't really want to use their water. So I'll go over to the sink and pour the fish straight through. This is the most common way. You don't want to leave them out of the water for too long. You don't want to stress them out. So like I said before, they're quite shy when you first put them in. Same with any fish really. They're very colourless at the moment, not much colour on them. The reason I went for Ember Tetras is because once they are settled in and they get a little bit bigger, they have a bright orange colour to them and they like to swim in and out between the plants, so they'll look really good in my aquarium. You'll have all the rainbow fish swimming around at the front, you know, begging for food, and then you'll have these swimming in between the plants, mainly hiding from the rainbow fish. But now they'll be alright once they settle in. They'll look really nice. So this is nearly a week later, 6 days later, and the fish have really settled in well. You know, it's a 4-foot tank, so it's a pretty big tank for these, and they like swimming from one side to the other in a very tight group, because obviously they're still a bit nervous, but they're doing really well. Got a little bit more colour to them and they're swimming around really well. Yeah, like I was saying about the filter, what I've done was I got a big bag of cycled ceramic rings from one of my canister filters, and I just put it on top of the sponge filter. So as the water passes through the sponge filter, it will also pass up through the ceramic media. So this will work really, especially for a small amount of fish like this. It should work pretty well, and then give it a couple more weeks and the actual sponge filter itself will be cycled as well, so that won't be a problem. It's just to kickstart the cycle, so it should be fine. And you'll see how much they've settled in now after only 6 days. They actually follow me around the room. It's because they know that I'm going to feed them. But I think it's mad how after only 6 days they've kind of adjusted so well. I think mainly it's probably because they're in their own tank as well with no other fish, so they get adjusted a lot easier. If I'd thrown these into the 300, I reckon they would have sat at the back behind the plants for ages and not really adjusted as quick as they have here. But yeah, I was very surprised. It's good to see though. and they're very active when eating their food. So that's how you know they're doing really well and they're really healthy. It's always a good sign to see. So I'm very happy about how well they've settled in. Yeah, it looks promising. They should do really well. So in the near future, as soon as I can, I'm going to get some more rainbow fish, some male rainbow fish, about 4 or 5, and I'm going to put them in this tank with these fish as well to quarantine them. So that should be really interesting. Not worried about the rainbow fish eating these because, like I said before, a full-size rainbow fish would probably struggle to eat one of these. So the ones I'm getting will be very small to start off with, and they should be fine living with these in this quarantine tank. So I'm going to get the male rainbow fish as soon as I can. Might be next week or the week after, just after Christmas, and they'll all be living in this quarantine tank for about 4 weeks. And hopefully there's no issues. They all do really well, and as soon as they do, I'll be putting them straight in the 300, and that will be very interesting to see, very exciting to see how the male rainbow fish act with my old ones, mainly because they're a lot bigger, my current ones. So they'll probably establish a hierarchy in this quarantine tank, the 4 or 5 juvenile rainbow fish, and then the one will think is the boss. And then when I put them all into the main tank, he himself is going to get bossed around. So that hierarchy will get broke up pretty quick. So all the male rainbow fish will be chasing each other around, putting each other in place. It'll be really interesting to see. Also be interesting to see what these Ember Tetras do as well. I think mainly they'll swim straight down the bottom behind the plants and they'll hide there for a couple of days, but eventually I'm hoping that they swim round together in and out of the plants, and they do really well. It'll also be good because when I feed like flake food, for example, to the rainbow fish, some of the smaller parts, some of the smaller bits of food, they don't really go for, but these will. So these fish will be good to just clean up some of the smaller food that the rainbow fish just won't go for, just because of how small it is. So that'll be good. Yeah, so interesting plans for the very near future. If you like this video and you want to see more of the rainbow fish, especially the new rainbow fish that I'll be getting soon, then please subscribe. Any questions or anything, just please comment and I'll answer you. So thanks a lot.